Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad. How is everyone doing? I hope you are all doing well. In this video, we will continue our discussion on visual design principles. Before, we have covered a lot of principles from the Islamic perspective, which are from the Quran, the Sunnah, and also from Ahlus Sunnah scholars. Now, starting from this lesson, we will be discussing on the principles purely from the design perspective. Let's start with a simple question. We know that our course or our lesson subject is called Visual Design Principle, right? We know what visual is. Basically, anything that we can see is a visual. Anything that can be seen is a visual. Apapun yang kita bisa lihat itu adalah visual. Next, we also already know what principle is. Ya. Principle dalam bahasa Indonesia itu prinsip. Ya. The fundamental frame of thinking and belief that acts as a guide for making decisions, solving problems, and determining right from wrong. Jadi fondasi kerangka berpikir kita dan juga keyakinan kita yang menjadi panduan kita dalam beramal. Contoh ya, dalam menetapkan kebijakan, dalam memecahkan masalah, dan menentukan apakah sesuatu itu benar atau salah. Yang jadi pertanyaan sekarang adalah, what is a design? We need to ask this question because a lot of people mistaken design with art or vice versa. Ya, jadi banyak orang yang kadang terbalik-balik antara memahami kata-kata desain dan seni ya, art and design ya. Although they are both related, they are actually quite different. Examples of art ya, contoh-contoh seni adalah paintings ya, lukisan, sculptures ya, patung-patung ya, handcrafts, kerajinan tangan ya, dan sebagainya. Examples of design ya, contoh-contoh desain adalah misalnya nih, designing website, designing a house, designing a car, designing a poster, etc. Jadi beda ya. Now let's review this table. Kita lihat tabel ini. Based on a purpose, the primary goal of an art is just to express emotion or to illustrate a vision. While design, the primary goal is actually to solve a functional problem or other specific goals. And from the audience perspective and based on the audience, an art is subjective. Some people may hate it, some people may love it. To the extent they are willing to pay millions of dollars just for a piece of painting, for example. Ya, jadi dari sisi audiens, seni itu lebih subjektif. Sebagian orang suka, sebagian orang membenci ya. Kalau saking sukanya orang bisa bayar jutaan dolar hanya untuk sebuah lukisan. Ya. Ada sebuah ungkapan ya, beauty is in the eye of the beholder ya. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Artinya, it means that beauty does not exist as a physical property attached to the object, ya, but rather as an individual emotion, individual emotional and psychological reaction in a person looking at it. Sekali lagi, ya, beauty atau kecantikan atau keindahan itu tergantung dari mata orang yang melihatnya. Intinya gitu ya. While design must be understood universally and function smoothly for all users. Jadi ada tuntutan besar ketika kita membuat desain itu supaya itu bisa diterima oleh orang banyak, sebanyak mungkin orang lah, intinya gitu ya. Dan agar mudah digunakan oleh penggunanya. Itu bedanya desain dengan art ya, dari sisi audience. Kemudian dari sisi starting point ya, titik awal kita ya. Based on a starting point, we start an art from a blank canvas and or a personal impulse such as imagination, feelings, emotions, etc. While design, because we need to solve problem, we start from client's brief or market research. Jadi kalau desain itu, kita berangkatnya itu dengan berpikir gimana cara solve problem, memecahkan masalah. Ya, atau dari studi market, studi pasar, ya, dan sebagainya. Long story short, ya kesimpulannya adalah design is more challenging than art. Why? Because when designing, we need to think both art and function. We need to think how to make things beautiful or aesthetic, and at the same time, we need to think about all the aspects that come with the product, such as engineering, costs, etc. Jadi kenapa desain itu lebih menantang daripada seni murni adalah karena ketika kita membuat desain, kita tidak hanya berpikir bagaimana membuat produk tersebut terlihat indah, tapi juga bagaimana teknis membuatnya, kemudian sisi ekonominya, dan sebagainya. There are a lot of elements in design, but the fundamental elements in visual design can be broken into 9 categories. They are line, shape, form, space, value, color, pattern, texture, and text or typography. Now, let's start with the line. So, what is a line or garis in bahasa Indonesia ya? Saya definisikan line sebagai berikut: a visual appearance that suggests a connection between 2 points. Ya, jadi penampakan visual yang seolah menunjukkan hubungan dari satu titik ke titik lain. Ya, jadi sekali lagi, penampakan visual yang seolah menunjukkan ada hubungan dari satu titik ke titik yang lain. Nah, there are many types of lines ya. Jadi line itu, garis itu banyak jenisnya. Ya, ini hanya sebagian saja yang kita lihat di sini ya. Sebenarnya masih banyak lagi. Yang pertama adalah straight line, garis yang lurus. Ya. Kemudian ada curved line, ya, garis yang melengkung-lengkung. Kemudian ada zigzag line, ya. Kemudian ada dotted line, ya, yang titik-titik ya. Kemudian dashed line, ya, garis yang panjang tapi terdiri dari garis-garis yang kecil, gitu ya. Kemudian thick line, garis tebal. Thin line, garis yang tipis. Again, there are still many other types of lines, but these variations should give you enough insight that lines can come in many different styles and sizes. Next, the usage of lines in design. In design, lines are used as a fundamental visual element for a lot of things. Yeah. First, we can use lines for structural or layout purposes. For example, we can use line to divide space. Ya, kita bisa membagi-bagi ruang menggunakan garis. For example, dividing columns vertically and then dividing sections horizontally. We can also use line to convey hierarchy or connection. Ya, hierarchy ini maksudnya jenjang ya, seperti struktur organisasi misalnya, itu adalah hierarchy, ada jenjang-jenjang. Kemudian kalau connection ini artinya adalah koneksi atau hubungan. Ya, jadi hierarchy itu jenjang, ya. Kalau connection ini adalah koneksi atau hubungan. Misalnya kita membuat diagram atau flowchart dan sebagainya. Ini butuh lines ya. Next, we can use line to frame elements. We can frame images or photos and also text. Untuk membingkai, ya, jadi fungsi lines kita bisa gunakan untuk membingkai elemen-elemen, contohnya elemen gambar, foto, atau teks misalnya ya. Next, we can also use lines to define shapes. Ya, kalau garis itu kita buat membentuk area dan pangkal dan ujungnya itu ketemu lagi, maka kita bisa membuat shapes. Okay, we will discuss what shapes are in a few moments. Next is visual direction. Yeah. So in the second category, we use lines mostly for guiding people's attention. Ya, kita gunakan garis untuk memandu perhatian orang yang melihat desain kita. Again, we will see some examples after this. Yeah. Next, we use lines to display or explain movement. We see this in comic books all the time. When a car or a character is running, for example, lines are used to display that the object is moving fast. Yeah, you will see a lot of lines. In comic books, these types of lines are called speed lines. Next is for adding depth. Yeah, we can use lines to draw room walls, for example, or building and so on. And then we can also use lines to draw texture. Yeah. Architects use lines all the time to draw texture to communicate building material. Ya, arsitek ini adalah profesi yang paling sering memanfaatkan garis untuk membuat tekstur. Berfungsi untuk mengomunikasikan bahan atau material bangunan. Kita akan lihat nanti contoh-contohnya ya. Oke ya. In this image, we can see how lines are used to divide the space or the area of the design. The next image is also the same. The designer used lines to divide the top and bottom sections, and then divide the bottom section into two parts using a vertical line. In this image, we can also see lines dividing different information section of the product. Next, in this image, we can see how lines are used to explain hierarchy. We have the director or the president up here, then we have the vices here, and then the section heads and so on. Next, we can see lines are used to display connection or relation. And on the right, we can see a chart. Here, a line is used to display values over time. Year 1, year 2, year 3, and so on. In the next design, we can see how lines are used to direct attention. We can see an arrow made of lines pointing to a button. Then, we can see lines used to underline text and also highlighting text using circles. Next, now this painting is unique because the painter uses only a single line to draw a woman. Well, not actually a single line, but two lines. Then here, we can see lines used to create simple shapes such as triangles, rectangles, and circles. Down here, we can see some examples of line effects found in many comic books as I mentioned earlier. Again, we can use lines to convey movement or motion. Then, in the next image, we can see a house technical drawing. This type of drawing, that is, an architectural drawing looking straight from the side view, is called elevation drawing in English. But in bahasa Indonesia, we usually call it gambar tampak. Jadi sekali lagi, ada gambar-gambar lain ya dalam arsitektur ya, contoh denah ya, kemudian ada potongan ya, dan sebagainya. Di sini kita bisa melihat sang arsitek membuat garis-garis untuk membuat tekstur. Jadi lines are used to communicate different building materials. There is wooden plates finishes at the wall, stone bricks, and roofs. You also can see wooden planks at the back. The reason why architects like to use this technique is because black and white lines are more clear. And also back then, several years ago, large printer called plotters are mostly available in black color only. Although now color printers are very common, most architects still like doing this the old-fashioned way. So they still use just black lines for technical drawing. Okay. Next, one important aspect of lines that we can discuss is the psychological effect that they have on the viewers. Salah satu aspek terpenting yang perlu kita ketahui adalah efek psikologi yang tersembunyi dari jenis-jenis garis ini terhadap otak orang yang melihatnya. Although different people can be affected in many different ways, commonly or generally, we can group the psychological effect into two categories: the orientation and the style of the lines. Again, you need to remember that the psychological effects are quite subjective. Different people may have different reaction, but we can still identify the common effects that are happening on most people. Let's discuss the orientation first. Horizontal lines. Horizontal lines evoke feelings of rest, stability, and calm. They mimic the horizon line and gravity-bound objects. Jadi garis horizontal itu membangkitkan perasaan rileks, tenang, dan stabil. Karena ketika kita melihat garis horizontal, biasanya di otak kita ini terbayang garis horizon ujung lautan atau benda-benda yang sedang beristirahat atau diam di atas permukaan bumi. For example imagine you are standing in the beach looking at the clear sea. Just imagine the feeling that you have while in this moment. Another example, you are in a vast green grass field looking at the horizon. What do you think your feelings at that time? Generally, you feel calm and relaxed, right? This is the reason why our brain is trained or accustomed to relate horizontal lines with these feelings. So, when we want to design something that show calmness, tranquility, relax, etc., you may want to add strong horizontal line element into the design. Next is vertical lines. Vertical lines communicate power, growth, and majesty. They draw the eye upward to simulate height and grand architectural strength. Imagine yourself walking into a forest with giant pine trees. Or another example, you walk downtown looking at the tall skyscrapers. What kind of feeling you have looking at these trees or buildings? Usually, our brain thinks that vertical shaped objects are strong and grand and stable. Because of this behavior, when we see vertical lines, we subconsciously, tanpa disadari thinking about these structures also. Next are diagonal lines. Berikutnya adalah garis-garis yang arahnya miring. Diagonal lines suggest movement, instability, and drama. They imply action or a state of falling, because they lack of a solid structural base. Or in other words, they cannot be static objects in the real world. Generally speaking, when you see a tilted or slanted or diagonal lines, your brain starts to process it as movement or motion. Why? Because in the real world, most diagonal lines moving objects, they rarely static objects as they would fall instantly. So think of it as rain. If you are outside or traveling in a car and you experience rain pouring down, you see a lot of motions from the falling drops of water. Another example, when you see a comet or a shooting star or a meteor, these objects are always in motion. Alright? Next is the psychological meaning of line styles. Curved lines convey comfort, fluidity, playfulness, and elegance. Their organic nature reflects creature forms and natural environments promoting relaxation. Garis yang melengkung-melengkung itu menunjukkan kenyamanan, keluasan, keceriaan, dan keanggunan. Jadi sifat organik curve ini mencerminkan lekuk tubuh makhluk hidup dan juga lingkungan alam, sehingga bisa menghadirkan suasana yang menenangkan. Next is zigzag Kemudian garis-garis zigzag or zigzagging lines. Zigzag lines signal danger, chaos, and high energy. Their sharp, abrupt alterations create visual tension and psychological discomfort. Garis zigzag bisa menandakan adanya bahaya, kekacauan, dan energi tinggi. Perubahannya yang tajam dan tiba-tiba itu bisa menciptakan ketegangan visual dan ketidaknyamanan psikologis. Don't worry, we will see some examples after this. Next, thin lines imply delicacy, vulnerability, and precision. They feel precise but can easily appear fragile or weak. Garis-garis tipis menyiratkan kehalusan, kerentanan, dan presisi. Garis-garis ini terasa presisi namun dapat dengan mudah tampak rapuh atau lemah. Next is the thick line. Thick lines represent strength, emphasis, and authority. They demand immediate visual attention but can feel heavy or restrictive if overused. Garis tebal melambangkan kekuatan, penekanan, dan otoritas. Garis-garis ini menuntut perhatian visual seketika, namun dapat terasa berat atau membatasi jika digunakan secara berlebihan. In this example, we can see how these diagonal lines create dynamism in a poster design. It makes as if the poster is moving. In the next design, we can see how curvy lines break the formality and make the design more playful and relaxed. Imagine if we don't have these curved lines and you replace them with straight lines, for example, the design will almost feel very formal, rigid, and serious, right? Next, we can see how zigzagging zigzagging thick lines are used as wallpaper, and also diagonal lines used for room decoration. If you are an active person or always in a constant need to boost your energy and motivation, having these wall ornaments is a good idea. But if you are commissioned itu ditugaskan ya, to design a hospital room, for example. Jadi kalau adik-adik diberikan tugas membuat desain interior ruangan rumah sakit misalnya, most patients need to rest. Kebanyakan pasien itu butuh istirahat, ya, to calm their minds, right? In such scenario, you should avoid using zigzag lines or diagonal lines. Yeah. You should use horizontal or at least vertical lines. That is, if you want to use lines as wall decoration. But if you are designing an interior for a gym or a sports center, for example, having zigzag or diagonal lines will be a good choice, okay?